Okay, I'm reading Prelude to the Landing on Planet Earth. It is a book published 1977 by STUART HOLROYD, and I'm in the chapter entitled A Revelation. It's the 7th chapter, and I am just looking where I stopped after I read the first part. Yes, I think it is here. So they are they already started the journey of meditation through the Middle East to prevent world war. They are just discussing Atlantis. I'm continuing where I stopped. Sorry. With regard to Sumner and Egypt, many historians have puzzled over the sudden appearance of high civilizations in these regions about the middle of the 4th millennium BC, and some have speculated that such a substantial body of knowledge must have been taught to be Sumerians rather than developed by them. The view is supported by a passage by the Chaldean historian Berosus, a contemporary of Alexander the Great, who reported a tradition already ancient in his day, that there appeared coming out of the sea where it touches Babylonia an intelligent creature that men called Uranus, who had the face and limbs of a man and who used human speech, but was covered with what appeared to be the skin of a great fish. The entire day this strange being, without taking any human nourishment, would pass in discussions, teaching men written language, the sciences, and the principle of art and crafts, including city and temple construction, land survey and measurements, agriculture, and those arts which beautify life and constitute culture. But each night, beginning at sundown, this marvelous being would return to the sea and spend the night far beyond the shore. Finally, he wrote a book on the origin of things and the principles of government, which he left with men before his departure. The records add that during later reigns of the pre-Diluvian kings, other appearances of similar beings were witnessed. This was the origin of the legend referred to by Andrija, that the founder of Ur appeared in the form of a fish. Tom's statement that it was first as a bull, it was then as a ram, is difficult to verify, though the symbology is consistent with what we know of the period. When Sir Leonard Woolley excavated the royal tombs of Ur, he found artifacts which associated the bull with the moon and the ram with the sun. All this is fairly recondite knowledge, and the agreement of Tom's account with these traditions again raises the questions whether the communications are derivative or corroborative. Of the trio, Andrija is the person most likely to be familiar with the sources, and as he asks most of the questions, it is possible to regard the communications on the normal paranormal hypothesis as a dialogue he is conducting with his own unconscious, using Phyllis's telepathic receptivity as a feedback channel. Alternatively, it might be surmised that Phyllis in trance can exercise an extraordinary clairvoyant ability to pick up information from remote sources. My cat is standing there. While we are on the subject of recondite knowledge, I should like to bring up one more point. In the course of a discussion in which John was trying to get a clear distinction between the supreme God, minor gods, and superior beings, Tom said, "We, in truth, are aeons." And in an earlier communication, he had suggested that all their people connected with their work might be collectively known as messengers of the aeons. Now, the term aeon, meaning an eternity, is quite commonly used, but its use in the sense of a being beyond space and time is only to be found in certain rare texts of the Gnostic philosophers. Moreover, there are other aspects of the philosophy of the communications which I shall discuss in the final chapter that have much in common with the esoteric philosophy of the Gnostics. After spending the festive season separately with friends and family, Phyllis, John and Andrija reassembled at Ossining at the beginning of January 1975. The 2 months they spent there before returning to Israel were not externally eventful, though they were not lacking in drama at the interpersonal level. Communications were held every 3 days, and familiar subjects were elaborated and some new ones introduced. The reason communications were not more frequent was that the energy they employed was required for the main work project of this period, the TV and radio override. To contribute energy to this project, they all three, on Tom's instructions, spent a period each day at separate times undergoing treatment on Andrija's electronic equipment. This meant that Andrija spent 6 hours and sometimes more daily in the Faraday cage, for the treatments took place in the cage, and he was always present to monitor the program of the other two. It was like Chinese torture, Phyllis recalling the sessions. Describing the mechanics, John said to me, "You have a headset with 2 pads on either side, which are silver-plated, and which made contact behind the ear, just below the temple on the other side of the head." Oh, I don't know why this is not playing. I like this. On the other side of the head. What happens is that a radio frequency is passed across the head between these electrodes, with the combinations and the directions being continually varied. What you hear is a tone going up and down a scale, starting beneath the audio range, then going above it and coming down again. Each note takes about 1.5 seconds, and each program lasts 7 minutes, after which the machine switches automatically to the next one. Andrija sits and monitors the power, because if you get too much power, you get a burning sensation. After a session, I had to keep away from everyone and go and lie down for an hour, because one was oversensitized, and if anything harsh or jarring impinged on the nervous system, its effect was tremendously magnified. In a communication held on January 5th, Tom gave his explanation of the use of the equipment. When we program for the communication transmissions on your equipment, which is our equipment, it takes a great deal of energy from you, the being and Sir John. At that time, we are in essence passing through one that is on the equipment a magnetic force field, which is of a different vibration than exists within your planet Earth. Then we in turn use electrical impulses to pull this force field out into the ether. The being is the battery. You are as the negative and positive poles of a magnet. At the time you are on the equipment, your physical body comes to a standstill, as it has never come before. And through each treatment, the physical body becomes more refined, though not in the sense of your earthly refinement, but in the sense that we might then work with it easier. This places additional stress on the 3 of you. When you are in your box and on your equipment, there is within your organs a drop in temperature. Yes, Andrija said, recently the being reported an unusual phenomenon. During treatment she experienced a sensation of extreme cold, first on the right temple and then through the head. Would I be right in assuming that this process of cooling down to absolute zero is a way of relieving the brain of the density of the earth? Yes, Tom answered, but remember that the brain does not feel. It is in the entering into the brain that the sensation comes into play. The sessions on the equipment were supposed to accomplish 2 things. First, the electrical energy passed across the brain was used to make bioengineering modifications in it. And, second, an energy output which could be channeled, stored and used for the communications interruption work was allegedly created by the process. However, Altair's technology was apparently not yet equal to the task of creating and transmitting a television overlay. The entire painful experiment, which consisted of Phyllis undergoing 28 treatments and John and Andrija 32 each, did not produce a convincing technological demonstration of the reality of their communicators. Andrija thought it had happened. In fact, when during her later sessions Phyllis began to hear a quite distinct sound which was not a part of the program, she told me. Andrija got very excited about this and came up with more and more equipment to add to his head to monitor this sound. It was a sound that completely overlay his program. John said he heard it too, on one or two occasions, but it proved too elusive for Andrija to record or to convert it, as he attempted, into visual signals on a TV screen. It is not the science, the technology, or the predictions contained in the communications of this period that make them interesting, but rather the quality of some of the teaching they contain, and the consistent development and consolidation of some of the major themes. The series began on the 3rd of January 1975 with a talk by Tom on the subject of doubt and belief, which they all found very pertinent after having had 3 weeks to think over the events of the past months. "You have doubted yourself, Doctor," he began. "You have doubted your ability, and you have doubted that within you and within the three of you, you have the power to accomplish all that we ask. We wish you, from this moment, to remove your doubt. When we inform you that you three have the power and the love and the strength to prevent chaos, tragedy and loss of life on your planet, we mean this with all that we are, and we ask you to remove your doubts." "Thank you for that strong reassurance," Andrija said. "John and I do live with doubt and questions, based on the fact that we cannot see the results of our work. For example, when we were in Israel last month. We understand that, and there will be coming a time when that problem will be removed. But may we ask you to hold in your heart the faith that you have in knowing that this universe is not operated by chance or simply by what many people on the planet call nature. You are aware of and no doubt about this. So may we ask you to remove the doubt that you have within you, the energies to do what we ask. Do you understand of what we speak?" "Yes, we understand," Andrija said, "and I think it is a very relevant lesson for both of us. And can you see God?" "I cannot, no." "Sir John, do you believe that there is a God?" "Yes, I do." "Then, if you can believe that, why can you not believe that you have the ability and the energy and the power? For remember this, ability and energy and power comes from the love and the desire within you. And when I say desire, I mean the desire to help, which is different from the desire which seeks to control." Andrija asked how the existence of doubt in them had affected the work, and in explanation Tom used the analogy of a cable consisting of millions of copper wires. If some of the wires were broken, he said, it would not break the cable, but the cable would not be perfect, and communications going through it would be affected. "You have doubts," he concluded, "because in your explanations to yourselves and to each other, you cannot comprehend the nature of who you are. Yes, Sir John?" The inquiry must have been prompted by an act of mind-reading, for John did have a point to make. He said, "One of my main difficulties is our acute awareness of our inadequacies on a physical level. Sir John, you are not so inadequate as you would like to believe. To believe that you are inadequate may be used sometimes as an excuse," Tom said shrewdly. Andrija suggested it would help their understanding if Tom could give them a specific example of an occasion when their doubts had adversely affected the outcome of some project. But Tom explained that hadn't happened, because the project had been accomplished in spite of their doubt. Had he not said that the cable with the defective wires would not break, but it would be weakened? He referred to the incident of the last day in Israel when their car had been immobilized near Yavne for an hour. "You prevented an explosion which, if it had taken place, the three of you would not be in your physical, you would have been returned with us. We cannot prove that to you, but you must But must we have an explosion to prove to you what we say? You have come here with complete faith. That is your mission, as it has been in many of your existences. But sometimes we peer at you and we say, the three of them have forgotten who they are. And they are trapped in the physical and the thinking of the physical, because in the physical it is necessary to see an object or to hold an object in order to believe. But you, Doctor, above all, should understand, for what you have accomplished in your years could not be seen before. Parts of the secret knowledge that you have held within you for many years have now been proven to be this physical world. Yes, that is very true, Andrija said. So, I make here a stop. Today is the 11th of March 2025. Have a good Tuesday, guys.